Hi there. Today, the 26th of April, would have been the 40th running of the London Marathon. It's now been postponed till the 4th of October. But as I do every year, I shall be wearing my London Marathon medal. Here it is, from the year 1992. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and done in a reasonable time, but I've no plans to do it again soon. Running a race is a familiar image from the Bible, as we are challenged in Hebrews 12 to run with determination the race that lies before us. In the London Marathon, as in all marathons, the race begins with a rush. Once you actually get started, that is. It took me almost 10 minutes to get to the start line. But then as you break into a trot, you are carried along at a pace that is actually far too fast. And it's also mainly downhill as you head towards the Thames. But by the time you get to Cutty Sark and the crowds have thinned a bit, then the pace has slowed and you're into the long and demanding middle section that seems to go on forever. A section where your mental attitude is as important as your physical fitness, as you slowly but surely eat up the miles that just need to be covered if you are to ever finish. And that's when you need the determination to run the race that still lies before you. A race that for most people is against themselves and their own targets, rather than for the glory of being first, second, or third on the podium. I believe that we are now entering that difficult middle section of the coronavirus race. After the rush of adrenaline and perhaps the novelty of a very different pattern of living at the start, we are now facing the long haul. We know now, if we didn't know before, that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And so we need to adopt a pattern of living and of praying, of worship and work that is sustainable not just for a few days or weeks, but potentially for months to come. And I hope that in the vast array of resources and suggestions that are now on or linked to our church website here at Billericay Methodist Church, you have found some of the things that will feed you and sustain you in the longer term. Examples for me of being fed in new and different ways come from logging into other churches and discovering YouTube clips and websites that have a vast array of things to think about and pray about and explore. But know this for sure, as we stay faithful and focused day by day, we will get there. I've had this experience once before, this time not in terms of a marathon race, but in terms of a long distance walk. As some of you will know, back in the year 2000, I embarked on a 41-day walk around the coast of Devon and Cornwall. It includes bits of Somerset and Dorset as well, a total of 640 miles, and you climb Everest twice as well during that time. It's not flat. And I got to the point, as I recorded it in the book that I wrote, Hobbling On, when I started to kind of think and analyse what was going on in me during this extended period away, during this long journey, this marathon of a walk. And I wrote this on day 16, entitled The One with the Slides, because at this point I was also thinking ahead to producing some kind of summary in visual form. Slides were cutting edge in those days, and wanted to kind of put down some of the more philosophical thoughts as to what was going on. Throughout the morning, I wrote, I was constantly on the lookout for pictures that would tell that wider story. And as such, I was forced to analyse the progress so far and how I would summarise it to others. I began to write a kind of script in my head, looking for parallels between this journey and the journey of life. I reflected upon the fact that the path, as it hugs the contours and the cliff face, never travels as the crow flies. And this is true of life as well. Things rarely happened in a straightforward way. The only time when the path had been straight and flat, I'd been bored out of my mind. Perhaps it is the very unexpectedness of life that sustains our interest and gives us that breadth of experience. As Pendeen Lighthouse came into sight, it struck me too that we all need targets along the way, as well as the overall purpose to keep us moving on. The end result of Poole in Dorset was what the walk was all about, but with over 370 miles still to go, that was not yet tangible. The target of Pendeen Lighthouse by lunchtime and Cape Cornwall by tea time was. And I knew that if I reached my daily targets, as sure as night follows day, I would reach the end as well. Having said that, even these interim targets, once glimpsed, quickly slipped out of sight. Before too long, I was down in a valley, knowing only that I was roughly going in the right direction, but unsure how much progress I was actually making, until around the next corner, the lighthouse would come into focus again, that little bit nearer. And the same is true of the marathon. After a period when you literally go to the dogs, by that I mean the Isle of Dogs, and then you hit the wall as you return to the uneven cobbles of the Tower of London, there comes that moment when, as for me, back in April 1992, you sense that you are going to make it. And there's a wave of growing expectation and excitement and indeed encouragement as hundreds of people, 10 deep along the embankment, call out your name, having read it on your t-shirt. And then you are carried up the Mall. You'll notice that the course was slightly different back in those days. And you smile at the BBC cameras as you tag along deliberately beside 3 rhinos. I have the videotape to prove it. Remember those? And finally, you are over the finishing line to receive the prize that Paul will describe in Philippians 3:14 as a prize that is beyond silver or gold. Well, there's some way to go yet, but keep calm and keep carrying on. Run with determination the race that lies before you. And till we meet again, every blessing, every day.